Well, the Oscar nominations have finally been announced, and there have been plenty of discussion around both the surprises and the snubs. One of the titles nominated for two Academy Awards is Real Pain, nominated both in Best Original Screenplay, penned by Jesse Eisenberg, and Best Supporting Actor, Kieran Culkin, who's a shoo-in for a win. But is this heartwarming road movie, a genre we don't see very often, worth your time? Does the performance of Kieran Culkin really translate into the crowning of a talent 30 years in the making? And is the movie as deep as it seems to be? Well, watch and find out, for I'm Pedro from Vinyl N Celluloid, and this is my review of A Real Pain. Actors turned directors are common, but few create something truly impactful. Most of the time, they're too hung up on their personal projects that they forget about the audience. Eddie Murphy's Harlem Nights from 1989 is a good example of this. Jesse Eisenberg has tried to avoid that trap. He's taken risks in his career and often chooses projects that are less traditional. Along with his commercial roles in films like Now You See Me and Batman v Superman, Eisenberg has directed and starred in films that show his ability to think outside that box known as narrative and execution conventions. With A Real Pain, the director takes steps towards becoming a respected filmmaker. The script is solid, the acting is strong, and the themes feel current. But even with all this emotional weight and a good balance of comedy and drama, something still feels off. It's missing that final piece that could make it stand out more. But before I get into what that piece is, here's a recap of what the movie is about. David, played by Jesse Eisenberg, and Benji Kaplan, played by Kieran Culkin, are two estranged cousins who reconnect following the death of their grandmother. Their journey begins when they travel to Poland to explore their shared ancestry and confront their grief. In Poland, they join a Holocaust tour, hoping to find closure and reconnect with their roots. As they visit historical sites and learn about the atrocities their ancestors faced, tensions between the cousins rise. Their differing approaches to processing their family's past spark conflict, and moments of reflection follow. Along the way, they encounter locals and fellow travelers, each offering unique perspectives on history, identity, and trauma. Through these interactions, the cousins face unresolved issues in their relationship. As they wrestle with painful memories and emotions, their family's history begins to weigh heavily on their connection. Now, A Real Pain had the potential to be a great movie, but a few things hold it back. One issue is the occasional excessive melodrama in certain scenes. The movie also feels rushed at times, revealing too much too quickly without the slow-burning build-up typical of American semi-indies. Eisenberg did bring a lot of natural pathos to the script, but there seems to be a disconnect in how the conflicts are handled and their purpose in the story. Still, despite its flaws, it's worth watching if you're able to get past these weaker moments. Here are two key positives and negatives to consider before deciding committing your time to watch this film. First of all, the topic and idea do stand out. Grief is often explored in American indie films, but it's rare to see it handled with such tact. In A Real Pain, cousins David and Benji mourn their grandmother's passing and decide to visit her homeland in Poland. The movie does a great job of balancing their personal healing journey with Poland's grim history during World War II. We also get to see lighter moments as the characters interact with the vibrant surroundings, except for the somber scenes at Auschwitz and the other tourists in their group. The chemistry between Culkin and Eisenberg is stellar, but what's more interesting is how these characters react to their environment, circumstances, and people around them. Without addressing grief directly, the film frames the story in a new and unfamiliar setting for both characters. This approach feels innovative and different, bringing a breath of fresh air to an idea that could easily feel overdone. Now for the negatives, and one of my main issues with the film is the title's uneven pacing. Whilst The Real Pain manages to balance its comedic and dramatic tones, certain scenes feel either rushed or overly extended. The first half of the movie, which sets up the comedic premise of the two cousins traveling to Poland, is brilliantly crafted. The first two acts give you plenty of time to breathe and absorb what's happening. However, as the film transitions into dealing with more serious themes, the shift in tone feels somewhat abrupt and the emotional beats don't land as effectively. Key moments in the second half, particularly during the exploration of their family history and the darker elements of the plot, feel rushed. The last 25 minutes in particular feel uncommitted, as if Eisenberg wanted to wrap things up quickly, leading to an unsatisfying conclusion. The film doesn't allow enough time for the characters, or the audience for that matter, to fully process the emotional weight of the revelations. By compressing these critical scenes, the movie misses chances for deeper engagement, which weakens the intended emotional impact. You're left wondering if there's a resolution at all, as the final act lacks the careful build-up seen earlier. Another negative point that I would like to raise is the movie's hesitation with introspection. Despite its potential and strong performances, it feels like a movie that never quite reaches the mark of excellence. The intriguing premise of two cousins reconnecting in the shadow of their family's tragic history is undercut by a scattered narrative that fails to fully commit to its emotional weight. The story flirts with deeper themes, but never dives into the tension or pain it seems to promise, leaving the audience somewhat detached. It feels like the film wants to say something profound, but hesitates to embrace the discomfort needed to make its message resonate. Like Benji, whenever things get too serious or difficult, a joke or a scene cut is thrown in, seemingly just to ease the tension. The dialogue, at times, felt too on the nose and dry, as if Eisenberg didn't fully grasp how natural conversations flow or the importance of subtext. The conflict and estrangement between the two cousins keeps evolving, but even as it deepens, it feels shallow, with too many unresolved issues hanging. Finally, and back to the positives, there's Kieran Culkin's performance. The acting in Real Pain is superb. Eisenberg brings his own unique sense of apathy and disconnect, which fit perfectly with the movie's tone, but the real standout is Academy Award nominee Kieran Culkin, who delivers a performance that justifiably places him as the top contender for this year's Academy Award. As Benji, he channels the same energy, sarcasm, and attitude that made Roman Roy such a memorable character in Succession. Culkin's Benji is the secret ingredient to the story. His outbursts, biting comments, and indifference are essential to the film's confrontations and moments of self-reflection. The movie uses Benji and David as tourists in Poland, but they're also tourists in each other's lives, if you will. Whether it's grief from a historical tragedy like the Holocaust or a personal pain from the disconnect between family members, they both struggle to fully comprehend it. Culkin's portrayal of Benji beautifully captures this dynamic. Someone who's desperate to be understood and accepted for who he is. His performance adds depth and nuance to the film's exploration of how we process pain, both individually and collectively. The title certainly isn't bland, but it never gets to the quality of such road movies or dramedies like Sideways. As it is, and despite its many qualities, Real Pain feels like a watered-down, more serious version of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.